Hi guys, Mamie here with OneJoyousSkip.com. Today we're going to be making this adorable little card here using the new stamp sets that I picked up from Joann's that are by Mama Elephant, and they are in partnership with Hampton Art is what it looks like. And so it comes with all these cute little images, and the dies even come with them too, and they're a really nice price point. We're going to be doing some no-line watercoloring, and in order to do that, we're going to be using the antique linen distress ink, and I'm also just showing you some of the dies that I'm going to be using to create the project today. And so I'm stamping each image with this distress ink, and it creates a very, very light image here. And I'm going to be doing the doggy, the dog bowl, some of the bones, and some of the letters. And so the idea behind no-line watercoloring is for you to create a very, very pale stamped image, and you paint inside of it, and to the point where you can't even see the lines on the outside because it is so pale. It's just a different effect, and I really like to do it because I think that it's just a really nice, subtle image is what you get in the end. It doesn't have any of the dark bold lines around the outside. I do love the dark bold lines, but this is just something fun to do different sometimes, and it can definitely stretch your skills because it's, you have to try to stay within the lines, and so it's very good to really take your skill level to the next level. And so what I'm going to be doing here is I'm taking some of a lighter ink color, and this is distress ink. This is tea dye, and I am just going and putting a one layer across the whole front of the image here, and just putting a wash of color really. And I'm starting in the darker areas and then pulling that color out. And so I usually do my light source, as you guys know, from the top right. And so you want to start with your water brush on the left side of the image, because that will naturally have the most concentrated amount of the pigment that you're putting down. And then also I'm going to come back in with the same color and just layer up some more of the ink in the shadowed areas, which would be like underneath things and on the side of things. So underneath like an object that's hanging over, etc. And I've explained all of that to you guys before, but there are some people that are new to the channel, so I like to assume that nobody knows what I'm talking about. That way everybody can get the information. And so I'm just going to do that a couple of times. I did about 3 layers to get a really nice contrast here with the shadows and the highlights. And you really need to do that with watercolors. You don't want to try to put everything down the first go round, because you'll just end up getting a big blobby mess, and it will leak out and spread across the image, and it won't be very pretty. So just take your time with this kind of watercoloring, and you're really going to enjoy what you get at the end. I think it's very artistic looking when it doesn't have the black bold lines, and so that's a really cool effect. So if you haven't tried it yet, I recommend giving it a try. And I'm also taking some more of the antique linen here and going in on his little snout and inside of his ears to lighten that up a bit. And I think it's coming out really well, and it really didn't take any effort at all, really. Just want to do some small layers and take your time, let everything kind of dry, don't go too fast. And so now I'm moving on to the little bones, and I'm just going to use that antique linen to color those in, just to give them a little bit of color. Now I'm moving on to the dog bowl, and I'm using barn door to color in the bowl here. And same as all the other images, I started on the left and worked my way to the right where it would be a bit lighter. And if you're not getting the contrast that you're looking for, if you're not getting the highlights that you're looking for, you can always just take a brush with a bit of water on it and take away some of the color in the areas that you want highlighted. That'll really fix any kind of issues that you're having. That's what's great about watercolors, is that you can pretty much fix any issue that you have. So even though you don't have as much control with watercolors as you might with markers, you are able to fix a lot of issues as well. So that is the good thing about it. And now I'm just taking some sponge sugar and going over the little envelope that he's holding there in his mouth. And this is my favorite dog in the stamp set, and I have been wanting to get it for so long. So I finally just took the plunge. I think it ended up being like $6 or $7 for the whole stamp set with the dies and everything. So it's a really good price point. And I told you guys that I would let you know how these images stamped out, and they stamped out fine. Really no issues at all. They gave me a really great line, even using distress inks, which everyone knows who uses distress inks in stamping. It can give you kind of a beaded look, a kind of blotchy stamped image, but it didn't. It worked out really well, and it gave me nice lines and everything. And so I recommend these stamp sets, and you can pick them up at Joann's. I'm not sure that they're available online anywhere other than Joann's, but I have not checked, so I'll look around and see if I can find them anywhere else. And so I also just added some little cheeks on the doggy, and now I'm moving on to color in all of the envelopes. And to color the blue envelopes, I used Salty Ocean. The red ones, I used Barn Door. And then the pink ones, I used the sponge sugar again. And I didn't do any kind of blending or highlights or shadows on the envelopes because they're so small, it really didn't matter. And so now I am using a Prismacolor pen here, and I am just going in, and this is a dark brown actually. It's not a black. And so I'm just going in and adding back his features so that you can at least see his eyes and his mouth and his nose. And so there we are. I think they turned out so cute. So now I'm going to take the dies that come with the set. That's really cool. You guys know that I don't usually do the dies with my images because I like to fussy cut, and I also have a brother scan and cut, and so I usually just either fussy cut it or use that. And but this came with the dies, and I do love the way that the dies cut. They give you a nice edge, a rounded edge around the images, which is really cool. It gives it a nice finished look. So I am going to cut all of these out in my die cutting machine, and magically they have all cut out. And now I'm going to be moving on to the other elements of the card, and I just have some little kind of like scene building items here that I'm going to be using, and I'm just showing you there what I'm using. I'm going to use this stitched rectangle here to cut out the panel for the card. And this will be my background. And now I'm also going to be cutting a hole in the middle with one of my stitch circle dies here. And I will link almost all the products down below if you're interested in where you can find these items or items very similar. So you can always check down below. And if I have an item that's not listed, it's either because I got it at a hobby store that they don't have online, or if it's because it was either given to me and I don't know where it's from, or it might have been an item or two that I got on eBay. So sometimes that happens. And on eBay, once they sell these items, they don't usually come back. And if they do come back, they move around. So it's hard to kind of keep track of stuff that's on eBay. So I'm just cutting out all those elements there. And now I'm going to create a frame with 2 stitched circle dies here. And I'm just putting one inside of the other, making sure they're nice and even. And I'll just run that through. And then the last thing I'm going to do is cut a panel out of some watercolor paper. And I'm just going to use that same circle die, the smaller circle die, to create that. And the reason that I'm using the smaller circle die here is because I want for you to see double stitched lines. So you'll see lines on the outside of the circle, and you'll also see lines on the inside as well. And now I just wanted to show you guys a quick technique. I got a makeup brush here and I'm just using that Salty Ocean. I was just going to see if this kind of worked as well as using the blending brushes that everybody is using now, and I really love the subtle look that you get from those blending brushes. I can't compare using a makeup brush to using a blending brush because I don't have one, but this turned out really great. So if you have a cheap makeup brush, I recommend you just trying that out. And I'm going over this with the Salty Ocean because I am creating just a bit of a sky for my scene. And now we're jumping to the panel here, and I'm going to put the frame around. And I have to apologize to you guys because whenever I was building the card, my video stopped recording, and so you missed some of me building the card just as far as putting down the dog and the envelopes. Really, that's the only thing that was left out. So, but if you look at the still shots at the end of the video, then you can see where I put everything, where I placed everything, in case you want to recreate the same type of card. But all of the important stuff is shown in here. So, and so now I'm spritzing that background with just a bit of water just to give it some texture. I'll let that sit for a couple of seconds and then I'm just going to take that off. And it creates just these little blotches on the background, and it pulls up a little bit of that blue too. I didn't want it to be too dark. Okay, and now it's time to build the structure and the background and the scene of the card here. And I'm just lining this up so that I can take my pencil and draw just a little outline of where to put my scene on the inside here. And whenever I create my card bases, I never get them even. I don't know what is going on with my hands or with the paper or what, but I never ever get them even. So I always have to do a little bit of trimming. Well, not always, just most of the time. And so I've put some Tombow Mono Multi-Glue down, and I'm putting the circle right on top of that. And now I have the little houses and trees and stuff that came with that one die. And I have the sun, and I'm going to cut those out using this circle as well. I just wanted for the stitching to kind of go around the whole scene as if it was like a small circular picture. And I'm just going to glue all of that down. And I did create the same card, but without a blue background. I left it white. And I'm not sure, I made this was my second card right here, and I kind of like the first one. I'm not really sure. I guess it's just the clean and simple in me that really liked that first style that I created, but they both turned out really cute. And so now I'm using the Mini Misty here to put my sentiment, and I'm going to put that sentiment right there in the sky. And then after this is pretty much when everything gets cut out. But hang around for the end and you can see the still shots and how the how the card came out. And I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for stopping by, liking my videos, and subscribing. I really, really appreciate it, and I love reading all of your comments. And look out for April because I will be doing guest designing for Not Too Shabby Shop again, and I'm super excited about that because I'll be doing an Easter series as well. And thank you guys so much for stopping by, and I'll see you soon.